Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. In today's show, we have Saskia Roell. She is the mother of 5, even though she has experienced 3 miscarriages. She is now a world-renowned specialized body and mind fertility coach, international speaker, and best-selling author. For over 20 years, she has helped women all over the world to get pregnant who have suffered from unexplained infertility, miscarriage, and or emotional trauma. Her clients are from all walks of life, from celebrities, entrepreneurs, CEOs, stay-at-home moms, and more. Saskia found her passion for empowering others while teaching at the Rijksuniversiteit of Groningen in the Netherlands. As a member of the Faculty of Behavioral and Social Sciences in the Department of Experimental Psychology, she has extensively studied the subconscious and conscious mind, and now how our unhealed emotions and disordered beliefs affect the body and mind. She holds certificates of Naturopathy, Transformational Healing, Master Training in Integrative Life Healing and Coaching, Advanced Hypnotherapy, Past Life and Age Regression, Somatic Healing, Birthing and Fertility Therapy, and Matrix Energetics. She is the organizer of the International Summit to Get Pregnant Now, which provides a variety of help for women struggling to get pregnant. She has conducted hundreds of interviews with fertility experts around the world to give hope and support to women trying to get pregnant. Saskia herself has been a featured expert at many events and has also been interviewed by NBC, Her Magazine, Healthy Living, U.S. News, and Fox News. Saskia has extensively studied how healing emotional trauma affects a woman's ability to conceive and birth her baby. On today's show, we're going to talk all about unexplained infertility. This was my diagnosis, and I can't wait to dive into this topic that affects so many of us, but really doesn't have to. Now, let's welcome Saskia to the show. Hi, Saskia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. So let's jump right in. Tell us a little more about you and what inspired you to start working in fertility and around women's health.
Well, I'm a mother, very blessed mother of 5 children.
Wow.
And I know the joy of being a mom, and, that in the end brought me to do this work to help women who struggle to conceive. And what I do is women who not necessarily have physical problems, but where the doctors say, well, you've been struggling for so many years and we can't find it. And some of them struggle for 10 years and the doctors say, well, we really can't find it. Or they do like so many IVFs or IUIs, or they try their affirmations, right? They have their hormones finally in check, and nothing works. And then where my expertise is, like, you have to look deeper and look in the body-mind connection. And that's where, if we say unexplained infertility, as doctors call that, it means that they cannot find a medical reason. And it isn't medical, because they've usually, if you're listening now and you've done all the things, right? We both know how committed women are on the journey of fertility. They try everything, they do everything. But then you have to look deeper, because the body and mind, they're seamlessly connected. And what I see with my clients is, like I say, they struggle for 9 years, or they, the doctors say your only option is a donor egg, or you're too old, because where else would you go if medically you can't find it? And then I say, if I hear a woman has unexplained infertility, I'm like, that's actually good news, even though it doesn't sound like it, but it means that medically they've done everything. They did it, but then apparently there is something deeper underneath, and that is usually a subconscious fear or a deeper fear, and that's where I go. And then, I've seen clients who tried 16 IVFs, and then
oh my goodness,
found the reason, and then boom, they were pregnant. So don't give up hope if you really at your wit's end and think, what can I do? Well, there is a lot to do.
For sure. And, that was my diagnosis, was unexplained infertility. And that's when I was like, no. And they said, because I was 36, I had to do IVF. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. There's nothing medically wrong with me. So I'm so glad that, you agree and we're talking about this now. And you do, you actually say that having an unexplained infertility diagnosis is actually a good thing, because there's not anything medically wrong.
Yeah, one of my clients, the doctors gave her 5% chance to conceive naturally. And she did not want to do IVF. She was like, for her, it didn't work. I'm not against IVF, but it didn't work for her. And she didn't want to do that. And then we found the deeper problems, and we released it, and she has a baby now. I mean, there's a lot of hope, but you got to be willing to look deeper. And like I said, it can be good news. And the doctors say actually that 80% of the women who have unexplained infertility can get pregnant. It's just not what they know how to do, right? So it's not their expertise. And there's a variety of reasons what can happen. But what I look into is like, well, what is the fear? What is deeper going on?
So let's dive into that a little bit. How do we start to connect that mind-body connection and, tap into that fear and to release it? How do we do that?
Well, it's very interesting. When I start working with clients, I always say, well, give me your fears. And then at first they're like, well, I really try to be positive. And that's great. But underneath the positivity, right, there's deeper fears, and it can be fears of a miscarriage, or it can be fear of how do I combine my career and motherhood, or it can be what if my child is sick, or it can be will my husband leave me, or it can be how will my body look after, or will I be a good mom. There can be a variety of fears, and it's very interesting. And then I tell them, okay, I want 10, and they're like, 10? And it's an exercise, because we have to go there, because then we can look at like, how can you shift that? Because your thoughts, for example, if you think, I'm too old, my eggs are too old, what does that do to your body, right? It impacts the body, and that's where you can create a lot of shifts by changing your thinking, releasing the deeper fears. There's midwives, for example, to give a good example, they have seen a lot of times where things didn't go well. And they come to me, they want to get pregnant, but they have fears. And I understand. It's just, it happened to their clients. So then we have to release deeper their fears. Like, what are your fears that the same is happening? And it's a beautiful process, but it takes work to shift your mindset. But there's so much scientific proof now where they say the mind and the body are seamlessly connected. And when a woman, this is scientific research, but I like a lot because it backs me up.
Right.
That when a woman does a body-mind program, she more than doubles her chances as well with IVF as natural conception. And it makes sense, right? When you go in IVF and you're like, oh, I'm sure it's not going to work and my eggs are too old. And the doctor said, your eggs aren't good quality. You walk away and you're like, right? Right. And that there's a big difference then when you are completely prepped and you have all the tools to feel confident. It impacts the body.
For sure. Sure. And you talk about age is just a number. And sometimes I hear that a lot with my clients, like, well, my doctor said I was too old and it happened with me, I need to do IVF. So what is, can you give us an example of maybe a client you worked with that was, maybe in her mid 40s and, kind of what is our cutoff age? Is there one?
Sometimes I feel, because I do intakes and I get, the applications on my desk. And then I'm like, who am I to say I'm not going to talk to this woman because she is a certain age? Because what is the bigger plan, right? What if it's part of her purpose to be a mom? And yes, she is a bit older. I mean, of course, you still have to ovulate, and your tubes should not be blocked. But I had a client, and it was funny. She came to me, and I had her intake form, and before I spoke with her, and actually she said she was 46 because she was afraid that if she would say she's 47, I wouldn't want to work with her.
Yeah.
And later on, I discovered she was actually 47, and she gave birth to twins.
Oh, wow.
And she was 48, but with her, she had deeper fears, and the doctors had told her. And I understand, because if they can't find a reason, then they're like, well, what would it be? Then you're probably too old, or your eggs are too old. But it's a tough diagnosis as a woman, probably too, because then it contracts your fertile energy when you think that. You're like, oh, I'm too old. I can't do this anymore. It's with same if you want to start playing tennis and you're thinking you're too old, you not going to hit a ball, I think.
Right.
So with this woman, she got twins. So that was beautiful. I had one other client, and she was a single mom, and she lived in Paris, but she really wanted a baby. She was, I think, 45 at that point, but she didn't ovulate. And I said to her, well, when we do a lot of body-mind work, which means changing your mindset, changing your energy, it could very well, it does affect your ovulation. It does affect your egg production. She didn't ovulate, so the IVF clinic didn't want her. So we started to do the work. She was in one of my programs, and she started to ovulate.
Wow.
So, yeah, right. You can do a lot in that area. So then she went to the IVF clinic and she got pregnant. So that was, an example. But of course, there's not for everybody it works, but there is a lot to do in this area.
I know. I love when I see a client, I see their intake forms, they come to me and, they're in their mid 40s, late 40s, and they're like, well, my doctor said, it's kind of too late for us. And I'm like, oh, I'm up for that challenge. Let's
exactly. Right?
Yes.
I'm always like, well, you have to do certain things, but that makes sense, right? Your hormones need to be in place, because otherwise, how do you sustain the pregnancy?
Yep, exactly.
So there's different pieces, but the emotional body is is so interesting, and women don't know, right? Because I show them, for example, they have a fear like, what if I die at giving birth? And then I'm like, well, close your eyes, and how does that affect your body? And they can literally feel, right? It contracts. You're like, because if you believe you'll die at birth, the body's wisdom, the body is so wise, the body won't go there, right? Because the body is then like, well, let's not do that, right?
Right.
Let's not open up to that. And I had a client, and her mom had a very big fear of dying at birth, and she kind of had projected it onto her daughter.
Oh my gosh.
She became aware of that. She was like, you know what? It's actually my mom's fear. It's not even my own fear. And, the emotional body informs the subconscious mind, and that informs the body. So it makes sense, right?
Right.
For me, it's very obvious. When I hear sometimes certain fears, I'm like, yeah, well, if you can release that, if we can get to that, you can change that, I bet your body responds, right? But yeah, what happens in the fertility journey, I'm sure you see that with your clients too, they lose the connection with their body because they're so in their head, like doing this right.
Right.
They lose the connection with their womb, they lose the connection with their body, and they're like, do you have a connection with your womb? No, they've lost it. And imagine your baby wants to live there in this sacred temple for 9 months. It's tough, because that are all different parts that play a role. I find it fascinating.
Me too.
Until this day, I do it for years, but every client, I'm like, wow, it is. The body and mind are very fascinating.
Very much so. Well, we have to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. We're going to come back in and we're going to talk practical tips. How do we connect to that mind-body connection, and some things we can start doing today? So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. Hey Saskia, welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes, all the listeners.
Yes. So let's talk practical tips. We talked about the mind-body connection in the first half. So what are maybe 3 things that we can start doing today to strengthen that mind-body connection and really tap into that fertile energy that we so want?
I like that. What I just talked about, like losing the connection with your body, right? Where what I see a lot of clients, they lose that connection. And I sometimes give the example and I say, imagine if you're an athlete, right? And you want to win that race. If you're not connected to your legs and not connected to your body, it's not going to work, right? You want to have that connection. Well, one of the things, a tip I can give is if you think about your womb, and there's absolutely nothing wrong, I want to say to you, if that connection isn't there. It's just something that you want to rebuild and you may not be aware of. But an exercise I do with my clients is like you do your hand over your heart, you do your hand over your womb, and you think about somebody you truly, truly love, and you have that person under your heart, or an animal, for example. I would think, well, one of my cats. I have 3 cats and dogs, and one of my cats is always laying on my lap, and I think of her. And then you think of this person or animal, and you really feel the love. You feel the love in your heart. And then what you do, you slide that hand on top of the hand in your womb, and then you give that love to your womb. So you start to build the connection that there is a womb and that she needs a lot of love because she's amazing. And of course, if you be disappointed and you've tried for so many years, yeah, sure, that's hard, but it is important where you start giving your womb love. Now, another example, what I see is, and I call it the 80-20 loosen up rule, that so many women, they lose themselves in the perfection syndrome, right? Because there are no more dedicated women on the planet than women who want to get pregnant. They do anything. If you tell them stand on your head for 10 minutes a day, they would.
Right.
Yeah, they would. I mean, I would too. So, but there is very often an overdoing, and they do too much, and they get into the masculine energy of doing. And getting pregnant is not a masculine affair. It's very much feminine energy, and instead of that pushing to achieve, it's more like listening in and conceive, I say, where you go in your body and you activate more your feminine energy. And where I call it the loosen up rule is you do 80% of all the good things, right? And 20% where you loosen up a bit, because underneath all that trying, they're very unhappy underneath. And I get it. I mean, because they feel guilty if they don't. And if they do, sometimes it's hard because they go out to dinner and they're like, give me a water.
Right.
They go out for coffee and they drink like a green tea. It's all good stuff, but it drives you crazy at some point. And they go out for a walk. And then while they walk, they do their affirmations. So there's no fun. So I say, skip the exercise sometimes.
Right.
And watch Netflix, binge watch, or go out with your partner and on Friday night have your glass of wine. I mean, in the end, look at the world. There's many women who get pregnant and they do a lot worse than that. But babies want to come to happy moms, and you cannot be too strict. It's the same with the regimented schedule for sex, where what I hear from a lot of women is that the men are starting to struggle because they have to put it on their calendar. And well, in a way you have to, but learn to play it a bit light, a bit spontaneously, even though in the back of your mind you're like, well, I know the date, but you don't give him the instructions 3 days before, because the poor guy is like, oh my God, really?
The pressure.
Right, so much pressure. So then the other thing, so the perfection, the perfection rule, the loosen up rule, I would say, the connection to your womb. And then the third thing is like, be aware of how you're thinking, because your mind is not your best cheerleader. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. And I'm included in all of this, right? Because
yes, me too.
We have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% is negative, and we're not aware how we. Yeah, so I was talking about our minds, that our minds are not the best cheerleaders. And when you become aware how often you may think, I'm too old, or my eggs are too old. And it is a thing about repatterning your thinking, where you catch yourself and you stop yourself, because it's so ingrained that you don't even notice. So that's where I would say, think, what if my eggs are the perfect quality, or what if I'm the perfect age to conceive, and start training yourself in a different way. And that takes practice. I mean, I work with clients for 4 months, and it takes 4 months to really rewire your brain, but also it's beautiful because your body in 4 months, that's, when the eggs ripe, and you give those 4 months, your eggs just really nurturing thoughts. And that is very important. So, yeah, I think that's already a lot to practice.
Yes, but I love that.
I hope they like it.
Yes, I love that. And I completely agree with all of that. I think it's so important to, have that positive mindset and really be nurturing yourself and showing yourself love, and, really trying to be spontaneous with your having sex and making it fun again and sexy. So I completely agree. I love that. And so we do have to wrap up. I would love to keep talking to you all day, but I know we got to close out. So tell us where we can find you. How can we work with you? Maybe tell us about one of your programs.
Yeah, you can find me at Get Pregnant Now. Get Pregnant Now. And if you go to that site, you can get free videos where I explain exactly like how you can find the root cause of what's blocking you. I have a program, the Get Pregnant Now Foundation program, and that helps you. It helps you to go from hopeless to hopeful again, right? And it helps you where you're not so anxious anymore, where you start getting in that lighthearted energy, where also you release your deeper fears, your deeper blocks, because you know what's exactly the root cause of your I don't like the word infertility, but what blocks you from conception. Yeah. I teach you that your womb is the second heart. We make the womb in a beautiful place. We work with the 80-20 rule. I teach you to Get Pregnant Now method of how your mind affects your body. There's a lot of practical tools for your relationship. So after 4 months, you're really on a physical and an emotional and what's the next? Physical, emotional, mental level, spiritual level, where you're completely open to conceive. And it's such a joy. Women after the first class are usually like, you have practical tools to work with. It's really down to earth, and you feel so much lighter, and you speak hope, and that's usually so amazing. And yeah.
I love it. I love it. And we'll put all of that in our show notes so people can find you. They can get your free videos. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for being here. Any final thoughts, words of encouragement or wisdom you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that any woman who longs to be a mother deserves to get all the help to hold her baby in her arms, and don't give up hope. There is help.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you so much, Saskia. It's so fun to talk to you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.